I think if you're an Always Sunny fan, you have an actual legal obligation to go see this film.
Bing bong!
On the surface, BlackBerry is the story of the rise and fall of one of the biggest tech cell phone giants in the history of the world. I know it might seem a little bit far-fetched now, but there was a time, trust me, when BlackBerry was the absolute giant of the cell phone industry. It wasn't iPhone, it wasn't Samsung. BlackBerry ran the cell phone game. But beneath the surface is a story about people making mistakes, forgetting who they are, and thinking that they need to become someone they're not in order to succeed. Now, I'm gonna be completely honest. As soon as I saw Glenn Howerton show up to an episode of the Always Sunny podcast with a shaved head where he looked like he was going bald and he said it was for a movie, I was interested. I love Always Sunny. I love Glenn Howerton. So when I saw he was doing something, I was all in. Come to find out, it's the BlackBerry movie, which I had no idea he was going to be a part of. We're going to jump right into it. Glenn Howerton is fantastic in this movie. He is so good. When you're going to see a movie with somebody who, you know, may or may not have unfortunately been very typecast as the psychotic sociopath that is Dennis Reynolds, I was wondering when I watched this movie, is this character going to feel like it is distant enough from the character I'm used to seeing him play all the time? Well, the answer to that question is sort of. He definitely embodies a completely different person in this film, but let me tell you, there are some prime Dennis Reynolds rants in this film. A lot of screaming. He didn't call anyone an idiot, which I was hoping for. I just wanted to hear it once. I think he kind of knows that's a phrase that is forever associated with Dennis Reynolds. So he didn't say it, but he gave a lot of other very angry, shouty speeches, especially one towards the end of this film about the NHL, which was beautiful. His acting in this film is incredible. He plays this cutthroat businessman who basically takes over BlackBerry and tries to bring them to the moon while also potentially doing some very illegal stuff in order to get them there. And so this movie kind of exists in two parts, because on one hand, it is educating me about BlackBerry. I remember BlackBerry being the absolute top of the mountain when it came to cell phones. I remember everyone having one. I remember if you were cool, you had a BlackBerry. If you weren't cool, you did not have a BlackBerry or a cell phone for that matter. One of the biggest mysteries to me always was what happened to this company. They essentially went from the top of the mountain to not existing at all. It is essentially like if Nike just disappeared. Like you went from one of the biggest giants in an industry to them just not being a part of that industry at all anymore. This movie teaches me a lot about what happened. Don't get me wrong, it does it in the fun Hollywood style that a lot of these based on a true story movies are done in, but it's really informative and so well done and engaging throughout. I really enjoyed that aspect of the film. Anytime a movie is based on a true story, you never know if it's going to be sort of boring or really engaging, like another new movie that just came out called Air. That was a film that I was kind of on the fence. This could be very boring or very good, and it was very good. BlackBerry falls into the same category. If you saw Air and you liked it, you'll like BlackBerry. If you didn't see Air, go watch Air. It's really good. Also watch BlackBerry because it's also really good. So the film kind of has two different things going for it. There's the based on a true story side of it, where you're kind of learning how this company got its start, became the absolute giant in the industry that it was, and subsequently completely imploded and turned into an absolute laughingstock. On the other side, you're learning a story about greed and humanity and people making mistakes and thinking that they need to become something that they're not in order to reach a height that they think they want. And I really like that side of the story. If you're familiar with the show Silicon Valley, this film definitely follows a lot of what made that show work. I think that show might be slightly inspired by the downfall of BlackBerry. If you've seen Silicon Valley, you know, and if you don't, I may or may not have just spoiled the entire series for you, but still watch it because it's really good. But it's that grounded aspect of this story that really keeps you engaged throughout the entire movie. While it does get the Hollywood treatment, there are a lot of little touches in this film that you're gonna pick up on and that are gonna keep you interested as you're watching it. One of the coolest things I thought they did, and one of the most interesting creative decisions, is that when this film starts and they're taking you through the 90s, the film just kind of has this grainy, sort of raw look to it. Like the technology that they're using to film it kind of matches the technology that existed back in the day, which makes me feel old because that wasn't that long ago, but goddamn it, technology moves fast. But as the film gets more recent, into the early 2000s, which I realized was also a long time ago, but god damn it, it's not as long ago as the 90s, so it makes me feel a little less old. They start using better cameras and there's better cinematography and everything just looks a lot cleaner and smoother and much more Hollywood than it did when the movie started, which follows the characters who also just become way more rich and way different, kind of abandoning who they were at the start of the story. Except for one guy, the co-founder of BlackBerry, who basically maintains his entire persona throughout the entire film and keeps who he was at his core without losing it, as everybody else just becomes rich and greedy. I do want to say, this film was an absolute pain to find. I have AMC A-List. This film is playing at one theater. When it opened, which was literally like 3 days ago, it was opened at one movie theater and playing like 5 times. It is so hard to find, so I do not blame you if you can't find this movie and you don't see it. Watch it when it comes to streaming. I'll be on streaming in a month, maybe even less, because things are going to streaming really quickly these days. But if you do find it playing somewhere near you, go out and watch it. I think there are not that many films that come out these days where I feel like they are worth the full price of admission. Movie tickets have gotten really expensive. If you are able to find this film, I think it is absolutely worth full price. I think it's probably worth watching it again on streaming anyway when it comes out. I'm definitely going to be looking for it when it eventually comes to one of the 18 different streaming services that are out there now. But it's great to see small independent films like this succeed. And when I went to the theater, there were a lot of people there, so that was really cool. I'm sure most of them were Always Sunny fans. I think if you're an Always Sunny fan, you have an actual legal obligation to go see this film. But even if you're not, go check it out. BlackBerry, one of the best films of 2023.